As a whole, I thought Origairu was okay. But amidst that sea of ambivalence shines a little nugget of a scene that ranks among my favorites. No, it's not the freaking genuine scene. It's far better. And it only consists of a couple of minutes, if even, at the end of episode 6. Some context, in Origairu there's essentially a love triangle. On one end you have the bright and boisterous Yui, and on the other you have cool, calm Yukino. Yui is asked to come to the club room to discuss something, and as often is the case with these kinds of shows, there is a miscommunication. Yui thinks the other two are about to announce that they're dating, when in reality, Yukino wants to celebrate Yui's birthday and get her to rejoin the club. Thus, we get this weird, awkward atmosphere, rigged to explode into meaningless melodrama. Until Hachiman says some words that have never before been said. Hey, I think you're misunderstanding something here. Instantly, the situation is diffused. Goofy sitcom music plays in place of the crippling silence, and the two girls go back to teasing Hachiman as they always have. Some of you might be saying, so what? What's so good about this scene? And I say to you, when's the last time you saw a potentially volatile situation dissolved? Not by way of emotional confrontation, but by a simple clarification. For me, this honestly might be the first. Origairu takes this tired, overdone trope, harnesses the expectation, and somehow makes what should be anticlimactic satisfying. Gratifying, even. Kono Oto Tomare's first episode shares all the hallmarks with, well, a bad show. You have this strange plot thread between random bullies and the main character, as well as a mysterious delinquent with a tragic backstory that just eventually gets told in one giant flashback of exposition. Kurata seems to decline Kudo's request to join the club because, what? He has blonde hair? Finally, at the climax, he absolves Kudo of the crime he's accused of, which is, I don't know, beating up a random person for no reason? It's a tiny drop of sanity in an otherwise deluge of pointless melodrama. I intended to continue the show simply as a guilty pleasure. Let's see how bad this can get, sort of deal. But I think the more you watch Kono Oto Tomare, the more it settles in, and the more you're able to realize just what it's going for. And what it's going for is Origairu, Season 1, Episode 6. Time and time again, Kono Oto introduces what seems to be a tired, overdone trope, only to turn it on its head. It applies this concept to every facet of its being, from its plotlines to its themes, and to each and every character arc. In due time, it chipped away at my jaded, cynical self, and made me wholeheartedly embrace what it was pushing. I can only describe it as wholesome incarnate. In lieu of a step-by-step analysis of everything I think Kono Oto does, I'd like to instead focus on how it treats its so-called antagonists. Because I think this is the critical factor in determining if the show clicks for you or not. Kudo is arguably the first, at least if you're watching it from Kurata's perspective. He is by all intents and purposes a delinquent. When he was younger, and even now, he constantly got into fights, he's got the trademark blonde dyed hair, as well as the abrasive attitude. But as your mind conjures up this mental image and everything else that entails, the show says, does it matter? Isn't he still a person? It begins this thread that unravels across the length of the show. How useful is prejudice? The next big test of this question is brought to us in episode 6, with the introduction of Hiro Kurusu. She's presented as a troublemaker, a nomad who wanders from group to group, lighting fires and soon leaving to watch how they burn. A series of her conniving antics follows after, attempts to sow fear, doubt, and discord. In any other show she may have succeeded, resulting in flaring tensions and drawn-out yelling. A lot of yelling. However, Kono Oto isn't just any other show, and it makes that known. Kudo extinguishes any chance of that logical endpoint, stating tersely, I don't believe anything unless it comes from the person's mouth. He actually notices the contradiction between Kurusu's comments and his perception, voices his complaint with her, and causes the other members to realize their follies as well. All by discarding assumptions, and instead, relying on common freaking sense. Kurusu has one last ace up her sleeve to shower the club of hellfire. she finds out that Hozuki has been lying. Hozuki owns up and tells the rest, with Kurisu eagerly awaiting the eventual fallout. That never comes. The show builds up to and teases this trashy outcome, only to break the tension and reveal that everything is absolutely fine. No one cares. Because why should they? With Kurisu in shambles, she lashes out like a bad Scooby-Doo villain and runs off, defeated and never to be seen again. Just kidding. She does run off, and eventually gives this comical, supervillain-esque speech about how she never cared. But she doesn't disappear. Kurata catches up to her and says blankly, "Is everything alright with you? I'll listen to you." It's another acknowledgement that very rarely are people mustache-twisting comic book villains. Kurata, Hozuki, and Kudo all see past the superficialness, acknowledge her baggage, and welcome her in with open arms. The show repeats this pattern ad infinitum, introducing situations that could all go wrong, and then solving them effortlessly through understanding and heart. The delinquent steals the clubroom sign, but only to clean and return it. Kurata, as the main MC, is indecisive, tentative, and basically a pushover. So Kurisu, someone who used to want destruction, tells him that he doesn't have to do it all alone. Meanwhile, Kudo stays out of it in respect of senpai-kohai dynamics. During their training camp, one of the side characters, which up to this point was basically one of 3 background characters, packs up his things and runs away. Everyone blames themselves for being too harsh or not noticing, but they push those feelings aside to go look for him. We embark on this giant, frantic search, only to find him casually chilling out next to a pond. He just wanted some extra practice. He realized that he was holding everyone back, but his response was to work hard, practice more, and catch up to everyone, without needing to be told that he can do so. Yes, I think Kono Oto pretends to be bad. It has to. It has to drive out all of these expectations and assumptions we as viewers have going in, place them out in front of us, and ask us to examine them. One can only take such a barrage of wholesomeness until the resolve is whittled down, and you're just happy to see how love will prevail this time. You begin to look forward to how the show will challenge your inner preconceived notions. You may think that this is too optimistic, that not everyone is secretly crying out. But I'd like to believe so. Kono Oto Tomare, in a way, is an aberration of a drama show. Characters actually think things through and talk with one another about how they're feeling, or what their interpretation is. Things get resolved immediately and don't hang. Doubts, jealousy, and insecurities are recognized and understood. It's a show that understands that real life is not an anime. People aren't archetypes and easily classified as good or evil. It's a show where people don't pull random 180s for no reason. They acknowledge their wrongdoings and strive to atone for their mistakes. At the end of the day, I think we can kind of get lost in this analyzing of methods and devices and what a show is doing. Kono Oto Tomare's message is simple. People are flawed. They can err. And that's okay. People can be forgiven. In a world where so much suffering already exists, hate can only beget hate. It is far more useful to love. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe for more content. I tried to leave this video at least a little vague because I want more people to watch this show. I hope I convinced at least some people to look past its apparent mediocrity and give it a chance. If you want to support me further, you can donate to my Patreon. Thanks to Best Friend Yusei Run, George Weasley, Steak, Red Fred Redemption, Ahiru, and Rolling on the Floor for their support. And of course, if anything I said was wrong, I'm sorry. I must have stuttered.